The Idries Shah Foundation podcast. Practical psychology for today. Featuring the works of Idries Shah, narrated by David Ault. Welcome to the Idries Shah Foundation podcast. This is the 11th in our series of selections made by the members of our Facebook group. These two stories come from The Way of the Sufi. The first is entitled, A Meeting with Khidr. Khidr is the unseen guide of the Sufis, and it is he who is believed to be the anonymous guide to Moses in the Quran. This green one is often referred to as the Jew, and he has been equated in legend with such figures as St. George and Elijah. This tale, or report, is characteristic of the supernormal functions attributed to Khidr, both in folklore and among the dervish teachers. Once, while standing on the banks of the Oxus River, I saw a man fall in. Another man, in the clothes of a dervish, came running to help him, only to be dragged into the water himself. Suddenly I saw a third man, dressed in a robe of shimmering, luminous green, hurl himself into the river. But as he struck the surface, his form seemed to change. He was no longer a man, but a log. The two other men managed to cling to this, and together they worked it towards the bank. Hardly able to believe what I was seeing, I followed at a distance, using the bushes that grew there as cover. The men drew themselves panting on the bank. The log floated away. I watched it until, out of sight of the others, it drifted to the side, and the green-robed man, soaked and sodden, dragged himself ashore. The water began to stream from him. Before I reached him, he was almost dry. I threw myself on the ground in front of him, crying, "You must be the presence Khidr, the green one, master of the saints. Bless me, for I would attain." I was afraid to touch his robe because it seemed to be of green fire. He said, "You have seen too much. Understand that I come from another world and am, without their knowing it, protecting those who have service to perform. You may have been a disciple of Sayyid Imdadullah, but you are not mature enough to know what we are doing for the sake of God." When I looked up, he was gone, and all I could hear was a rushing sound in the air. After coming back from Khotan, I saw the same man. He was lying on a straw mattress in a rest house near Peshawar. I said to myself, if I was too raw the last time, this time I'll be mature. I took hold of his robe, which was a very common one, though under it I thought I saw something glow green. "You may be Khidr," I said to him, "but I have to know how an apparently ordinary man like you performs these wonders, and why. Explain your craft to me, so that I can practice it too." He laughed. "You're impetuous, my friend. The last time you were too headstrong, and now you're still too headstrong. Go on, tell everyone you meet that you've seen Khidr Elias. They'll put you in the madhouse, and the more you protest your right, the more heavily they'll chain you." Then he took out a small stone. I stared at it and found myself paralyzed, turned to stone, until he had picked up his saddlebags and walked away. When I tell this story, people either laugh or, thinking me a storyteller, give me presents. Ben Yusuf the Carpenter. Once upon a time there was a carpenter named Nazar ben Yusuf. He spent all his spare time for many years in studying ancient books which contained many half-forgotten pieces of knowledge. He had a faithful servant, and one day he said to him, "I have now attained the age where the ancient sciences must be used to ensure my continued existence. I therefore want you to help me in carrying out a process which will rejuvenate me and make me immortal." When he explained the process, the servant was at first most reluctant to carry it out. The servant was to dismember Nazar and put him in a huge barrel filled with certain liquids. "I cannot kill you," said the servant. "Yes, you must, for I shall die in any case, and you will be bereaved. Take this sword and stand guard over the barrel, telling nobody what you are really doing. After 28 days, open the barrel and let me out. I shall be found to have regained my youth." So the servant agreed, and the process was started. After a few days, however, the servant, in his loneliness, began to feel intensely uncomfortable, and all kinds of doubts assailed him. Then he started to become accustomed to his strange role. People came regularly to the house asking for his master, but he could only say, "He is not here at the moment." Finally, the representatives of the authorities arrived, suspecting that the servant had done away with his vanished master. "Let us search the house," they said. "If we find nothing, we shall then take you into custody on suspicion, and it is probable that you will not be released until your master reappears." The servant did not know what to do, since by that time only 21 days had passed. But he made up his mind and said, "Just leave me in this room with this barrel for a few minutes, and then I shall be ready to come with you." He went into the room and took the top off the barrel. Immediately a tiny man, looking much younger but exactly like his master, though only the height of a hand, jumped out of the barrel and ran round and round it, saying repeatedly, "It was too soon! It was too soon!" And then, as the horrified man watched, the little being vanished into thin air. The servant went out of the room. The officers arrested him. His master was never seen again, although there are many legends about Nazar ben Yusuf the Carpenter, but these we must leave for another time. This audio is made available by the Idries Shah Foundation and is copyright 2019. All rights reserved.